Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Floodlights, Camera, Action. From Andre Brower to Andre Onana, we look to bridge a gap between film and football and tell you exactly what films you should be watching and what ones to avoid. I'm Jack, and usually I'm joined by my co-host Veronica, but unfortunately today isn't the case. But don't worry, as I'm joined by a fantastic guest. So we've got football writer and film enthusiast, and a man I wanted to get on the podcast for a long time, but I may or may not have forgot to message him. Welcome to the show, Casey Evans. How are you, mate?
It's quite an intro, actually. To be fair, I'm a film enthusiast and someone that you've wanted on the podcast for a long time. That you know how to make someone feel welcome. Yeah, I'm good though. Thanks for having me on. Finally.
Yeah, I am. In the early days of this podcast, I may or may not have used to take about 5 goes to get the intro done, but now I can just slap through it. But I want to get straight into football because that's where we always start. Well, I say always, we tend to start there. Who do you support for your sins? And what was your first football memory, specifically of heartbreak or anger? For example, for me, it was watching the 2010 FA Cup final, watching Didier Drogba win that game, which also coincided with Portsmouth getting relegated that year. And I thought that it meant we would never play a football match ever again. That was a low point for me.
I mean, you've made me feel old there. So my most recent memory of football heartbreak is you saying, "Oh, one of my earliest footballing memories is 2010," because that was just like a
Yeah,
bullet to the
well,
heart.
yeah, it evens
But
out somewhere in
I'd
the middle
say.
though between us.
Yeah, so I'm a Manchester United fan. I write about Manchester United. That's been where my football writing experience lies, and so on and so forth. My earliest football memory of like heartbreak and anger is probably one of my earliest footballing memories in general, because I don't particularly remember much football when I was younger, like very young. But when I was about 5 or 6, obviously there's the Euros, and then there's Ronaldo getting Rooney sent off, and I was like, "Oh no, two people I like are fighting," and also people in this sport can lie and
Mum
cheat
and dad are
and
arguing.
be
Mum and dad are
horrible to
arguing.
each other.
Help!
Yeah, I was about mum and dad are arguing. He's got Rooney sent off. There's a little grin. I'm like, oh, he hasn't actually been fouled. And I was like, it was like finding out when you find out wrestling's like fake. It was like that. It's like, oh,
What?
sorry for anyone on the
What?
podcast that doesn't know wrestling's fake.
Oh
I was about
God!
to say,
You're gonna tell me
uh,
Santa's not real next? Apologies
well,
to the 7-year-olds that listen to this
I,
podcast, which just ruined your week.
I was about to say, I can't send this to my nephew now to have a listen to. But yeah, it was one of those ones where you're just like, oh, this sport, people can dislike each other. It's not just all fun, sunshines and rainbows. Because like, obviously, supporting United in the early 2000s to like to early 2010s was just a great time where everything seemed to go right. Bar when Jose Mourinho came in for a bit, as probably links to your memory. Eventually along the
Yeah.
line, because Didier Drogba by extension, and there's the links. So
See, smooth. I remember when I started getting into football kind of around 2007, 2008 when I was about 6 or 7. So it was like the peak Portsmouth Barclays era, and then that was my interest. I thought, oh my God, I've lucked out. There's like Matari, Diarra, Cranshaw, whatever. And then it's like, oh, actually no, it's all bad from here, and you've got to watch people like Dave Kitson and others who I won't slag off on this podcast.
I was about to say, go on, Jack. Just say more. just add some other people in there.
Okay,
I mean,
I'll,
to be
I'll add
fair,
one. I'll add one.
oh go.
Drew Talbot, one of the worst players I've ever seen play football in my entire life.
Yeah,
He was a
fair
bald
enough.
player. He was awful. Bad
Fair enough. I
memories.
don't even think I know who that is. So that's probably
You wouldn't.
the
He
big
was
thing.
like around the League Two era, so I wouldn't expect you
Yeah,
to know.
yeah.
But
So, well, I mean, like,
that was a dark period.
it's looking a bit better now. I think you've got was it Musinho, John
Yeah,
Musinho, not
everyone made the
the
joke of, oh, I thought it was Jose Mourinho. So,
yeah. He's a good manager. Obviously, I do a
he's a
lot of
bloody good
championship
manager.
stuff with the Sportsman now. So we cover a lot of the championship, and I get to talk to like a lot of championship people who watch it a lot more than I do, and I've tried to watch it a bit more. But yeah, he looks like a good manager. Obviously, like it's nice to see a team like Portsmouth come back. I think because it's kind of one of those things. Like obviously, growing up in that age and stuff like that. Like the teams like Portsmouth, Stoke, um, so on and so forth. Newcastle, West Ham, obviously they came back after a while. They're like ever presence, and like just to see them like just completely fall away. Sunderland was another one. Like the Sunderland drop off. You're like, it's just weird that you now don't even think about them at all. Like you were like there, like, oh, we play them twice a week. Like, oh, not twice a week. Imagine Played Stoke
God,
twice a
we're
week.
playing.
I mean,
We've
the
got Sunderland
gauntlet.
48 times this season.
No, but yeah, it's like you used to be like, can't be bothered going playing Stoke. They're just gonna hoof it up and like be really physical and cause problems, and then they just go to actually you might get them in a League Cup final once in the next 7 years on League Cup final. I'm just saying words now. You might get them in a League Cup match. If Stoke are in a League Cup final, something's gone horribly wrong. But if you get them in a League Cup match once every 7 years, and you're like, oh okay, yeah, Stoke are still knocking about, aren't they?
Yeah, I've got a bit of a soft spot for Sunderland because Sunderland came down to League One in 1819, which was Portsmouth's second year in League One, and it was kind of a bit of a thing. So Portsmouth and Sunderland were the two biggest clubs at the time in League One, and it was like a weird. No, it wasn't a derby, but it was like a weird competitive rivalry, and there were some incredible football matches between Portsmouth and Sunderland for different reasons. Sometimes because we won, sometimes because we lost 4-0 at home. And I think Charlie White scored a hat trick in Kenny Jackett's last season. But no,
I
I've
met his
got yeah.
cousin. I met his cousin when they were. It might have been. I don't know if it was when he was at Bradford. It might be. Yeah,
Mm.
his cousin. I met his cousin. He was basically in the bar getting absolutely just sloshed because they either like they were about to play, and he was like, "Oh yeah, my cousin plays," and I was like, "Who is it?" And he just turned around and just pointed at Wyke on his shirt, and I'm like, you're a Bradford fan. It's like you're gonna have Wyke on your shirt to begin with. It's like this was. I feel like this interaction. Obviously, I know it's now your cousin, but I feel like you did it like I should just assume it was your cousin
Yeah.
because you have his name
Do you
on
know
your
who I
shirt.
am?
Yeah, I was like, do you know who I am? I am the cousin of Charlie Wyke. But yeah,
Yeah. Um, I didn't think Charlie White would get that much of a sustained mention, but um, going from the
full of
past into the
surprises.
present,
Full of surprises.
yeah,
Yeah.
full of surprises as always. There won't be any Hawk Tour mentions on this podcast this week. I will say, thank God, that will not be a surprise. Past the present, Ruben Amorim. I actually got top. I've got a Portuguese lecturer at uni, and he told me off because I pronounced it like that. Apparently, you're not supposed to say the A. It's like Amorim, but I didn't listen to him. Apart from constantly conceding from corners, how have you kind of perceived the start of Ruben Amorim / Amorim's reign?
I mean, it's been all right. Like I feel like there's the weird sense that everyone thinks that I think like the problem was with the last few managers is everyone's kind of expected it to come in and kind of got better immediately. And I feel like we finally got to the point of like the 5 stages of grief, like of everyone being like, you know what, actually we were all right, just being fine. Like obviously the Derby win is nice, and like I loved that we just had that, and it was great to watch. And like obviously I was on a bus watching on my phone, and my bus went past the Etihad as it ended, so I just got a load of really upset City fans just sat around me, and I'm just there just like funny. But yeah, I think like everyone's kind of like accepted now. Like we're just gonna have to wait and see. Like I think that the one thing I've wanted to see from Amarim, and which is what he's kind of implemented, is we look defensively sound. I think obviously the corners are a problem, but sometimes that's just they have more tall people. Going back to aforementioned Stoke, but it's like they just have more tall people. They've just worked on it for longer. Like I think that like corners are becoming so much more of a thing now. Like in terms of it's not just you get these people lining up here and you just kind of punt it into that zone. There's like we do all these little movements and this one guy gets free, and now we have like a Saka or an Odegaard who can literally just put it on his head. It's like that precise. So maybe we'll see more of that in the next few years. I think that's where the finer margins of the sport kind of come into play. But obviously, as a new manager who's basically brought in a new coaching staff and has someone doing set pieces, like I can understand why that isn't it. But like just in the general sense of we look defensively sound, we look like most of the time we can get the ball forward. Obviously, Andre Onana's given everyone a little bit of a heart attack at times by how risky he can be with the passes, but that's also not completely on him. I think obviously like the centre backs have to be in a better position to receive it sometimes. I think that was very clear in some of the instances in the past, and even before Amarim came in. But also like after that, we seem to be able to get the ball forward to the attackers, and just it is moments of brilliance. But that's what Atletico Madrid do. They just basically just like they're very very structured. They know how to get the ball forward. And then you give it to Grievous and Alvarez, and they do something magic with it. Right, sweet. And then that kind of works for a bit. And it can work from a much medium level to a much higher level. So I think this initial stage, I've just said, yeah, we're all right. It's not perfect. It's not like the greatest thing, but it's enough to go like, yeah, there's nice signs there that over time might grow into something great.
Now, this isn't on the running order, but I think it's probably worth talking about. 2 words, Marcus Rashford. How's that
Yeah,
looking?
you sent me this running order before that. I got
Yeah.
that got added. It's such a shame. That's the only thing I can say. Like, he obviously has had his struggles on the pitch, and he obviously hasn't been performing, and that's fair enough. And I think there are reasons that Marcus Rashford himself has to be blamed for, because obviously he's not. His effort levels have quite clearly dropped, and there's stuff off the field that is quite clearly affecting how he plays on it. But there's also the point of the matter that the club has been a mess for years, and we've seen so many talented players come through and have these like really outstanding seasons, like even Pogba and Martial and so on and so forth. These ones that we are now considering like failures of the club in terms of getting to their potential. They're still good players and they've still had good seasons. But they are failures in terms of where everyone expected them to get to. Like Rashford's going to end up falling in one of those brackets because I feel like he shouldn't. I think he's still had a very good United career. He's like in our top 5 goal scorers for the Premier League. He's got a lot of the assists. Like he's won trophies with us. He's been very clear in winning trophies. He's had really good moments in important derbies. Like there's that Liverpool one like years and years back where he completely put the team on his shoulders and just destroyed Liverpool by himself. But the problem is I feel like because of this whole furore around him and this whole media presence and certain elements of the media really going out of their way to just dig him out. Like, it is insane that over the course of the last week, before, like, obviously now he said something, you'd be like, okay, I can understand as a journalist, you now have to comment on it. But even before that, we were getting like 8 and 9 articles from different media outlets, just basically just digging into his life. And I'm like, come on, like I know we're in an information age. I know we're in like the age of there's not particularly much privacy, but it does feel like he is one of those players, like someone younger might be more up for that and more understanding of that's how it works. But like someone like me, he is basically my age. Like he's 27 now. I'm going to be 27 at the start of next year. Like my generation, God, that made me sound old. I'm just making myself feel bad. Are on that edge of the sort of spectrum of we were like the last real generation before the internet really took off. I'd say like
For the
I
woke
was like
nonsense, is that what you're saying?
no, but like I was like 7 years old when it was Facebook. Like
Mm.
Facebook was kind of coming into the mainstream as I got into the age of when Facebook was basically you were allowed Facebook. Like Twitter kind of came into the sphere just as Twitter kind of got interesting. I was in secondary school. Like we have kind of just like grown up with it, and I feel like someone at my age wouldn't know how to deal with that sort of media pressure when everyone above you and probably throughout your entire career has given you all this advice of how to deal with the media, and then it just completely goes out the window within like 5 years. So yeah, I feel really sorry for him. Like I didn't want it to end up like this. Like a lot of my good memories in this sort of period since United have been bad have come from Rashford. But it's one of those things like it's football at the end of the day, and things happen and things change, and you just kind of have to deal with that.
Now, obviously, Marcus Rashford is an academy graduate at Manchester United, and there's a lot of talk about the big academy prospects and big young players that are coming through. But I want to talk about we did this with Ben Bowman when he was on the show. I want to talk about there's some maybe underappreciated youngsters at United. For example, I recently watched Tyler Frederickson for the 21s against Norwich, and I thought he was just incredible as a centre half, so commanding, positions himself incredibly well, good on the ball. Who are some of your favourite, maybe underappreciated United youngsters?
Such a hard conversation to have with United. I was sat here like actually thinking about it, because when you say the word underappreciated, I think more than most clubs, we have such a really big youth following that it's really hard to like even the underappreciated ones. If they shine, someone will shine a light on him. Like I think Finlay, can't remember his last name now, but academy youth guy. he's really good at that. He always points them out, and like if they're going to be in the first team, he'll make sure that like, the thing again is like if they're a good performance, even if they're like not a big name, he'll be like so on and so forth. So I was just sat there, just like, who do I actually say here? And my mind just kept coming back to it. And luckily, like the last night, so before we've recorded this, he scored a hat trick. So it's underappreciated. It's not really going to come really out. But Gabriel Biancheri, he's a really good striker. Like he's really good, and I feel like he's underappreciated because he's kind of got overshadowed by Chido Martinobi coming in, and a couple of other the big names like Abramovich and some other sort of thing. Ibrahimovic, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but yeah,
We all know who you meant, and that's the important thing.
Yeah, but there's some other bigger names that have kind of like taken the fore, and he's kind of stepped back because I remember when Chido Martinobi was getting announced and kind of like saying, "Oh, he's going to come to United." It was like, "Oh, he's going to be the third striker." So like, if Højlund and Xerxes add up to it, he'll play. And I was like, Biancheri's like banging them in for the under 21s, under whatever academy team he was in. He's playing really well. I don't know. I know he's obviously this great talent that everyone thinks is going to be amazing, and obviously, like you want to see that go forward. But I feel like Biancheri is very much the guy that deserves that shot, and I feel like just putting this young player in, however good he is, and saying, "Oh, you're all right," like yeah, your third choice, you're on the bench, and so on and so forth. I don't think United have done that. Luckily, since then, like they seem to have been actually trying to like bed him in properly and like making sure he gets the sort of right training and the right attitude behind how he's going to progress in this team. But it was like, I feel like Biancheri deserves that shot, and I feel like if we do get a cup game and we want to play another striker, I feel like he should get a shot because he is really good. His awareness in the box is insane for his age. I think that's the one thing that really stands out about him. He does really know where to, like, I wouldn't say he's like the fastest, I wouldn't say he's like the strongest, but he just, because well, he's 18 years old, but like he really knows how to find space in the box, which I feel like is something that you can't particularly teach a striker. Like
It's
you
a
can
lot
teach it to a
based on
degree.
feel. It's based on feel,
Yeah.
isn't it? Especially like if, as you say, if he's like 18 or whatever, if he's already got that innate kind of feel of where to be in the box, if he can then add that speed, add that, I don't know, that agility, that sharp movement, that's Jesus,
Yeah,
got a
like
player
you
on your
can
hands.
teach it to some degree because you can say like Raheem Sterling at City, like Pep just taught him to hit the back post. Like he went, we will do everything to give you some space there. Just always hit this spot. Like I think there's a story of him basically putting a cross on the floor in the training area in the box, and he went, you go there. It's like we will make sure the ball goes there. You end up there and you shoot from there. I do not want you to shoot from 1 foot difference. Like that is where we will find you some space. And you can teach that. You can teach them to hit a spot constantly. But that's sort of like you said, like that feel of like, oh, that centre back's checking this side of his shoulder, so he's going to know that, and they can see that the winger's coming in, so he might just start to go there, and then his partner's going to have to step up to get this header, so there's like a little bit of space there. But then I've also got to realise that this DM's behind me, so I've got to kind of like arc this way and come back in. Like it's like those little like nuances in it that you can see like he understands even now. And I think that I'd definitely like to see him get a shot in the first team.
I was just thinking about that question because I work with quite a few academy players kind of professionally, and I love academy football. I think it's great. I watch a lot of it, but I always think maybe not so much at 21's level, but I always think like imagine the pressure as like a 17, 18-year-old where you're getting like, I don't know, Fabrizio Romano tweet about you or all these accounts tweet about you. It's like the amount of just noise that they must block out. But I think luckily like the younger generations are getting quite good at it, weirdly. It kind of sounds weird because they're like, you always think, oh, young people are always on their phones, always on social media, but they are, I found anyway, they're getting quite good at blocking out. So maybe we won't have a Marcus Rashford situation where it's like just getting a bit too much.
Yeah, the
But no,
handbook is getting
go on.
written as it goes. Like
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like the handbook is getting written on the fly now. Like I think like there's a lot of agents and a lot of social like people are hiring social media managers and PR firms, and they're kind of just writing it on the fly. One of them should be tell your brother to shut the hell up. I think that should be
yes,
a rule written in
that should be
there.
written in before you get a
Like
phone. Right, this should
yeah. Yeah,
you're not allowed to tell any family
like
members anything.
yeah. Here's your. No, it's not even that. Like, I'm not even like talking about that. Like, I'm just saying like it happened with Maguire back in the day, and a couple of other players. You just see it where like someone's brother will just start an argument, and I'm just like, this is the social media manager for you, and here's the manual, and here's and now your brother's coming in. Here is the much thicker one of what you shouldn't do, because he's quite clearly not going to be on his phone during the match, and he's quite clearly not going to be having a drink. So do not argue with some random fan who has a Martial Ave and just about absolute nonsense and start swearing at fans, because you know what's going to happen. You know it's going to get screenshotted, and you know it's going to get thrown up on someone, and it's going to come back on your brother or on yeah. It's just like, do not do it. Like, simple enough. Just be quiet. Or if you're going to do it, do not put your name on it. Like, it's like going to a riot and just staring at the camera down. Like, it's like that. It's like, yeah. I was like, oh yeah, I'm on a protest. It's like, I'm gonna wear my normal clothes, and I'm gonna look at the camera and go, hi mum, how are you? I'm here. It's like, don't put your name on it. Just use a burner. Like, come on,
Come
stop telling
on,
on yourself.
people, do it properly.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned Maguire, actually, because I didn't have a segue plan. But as you saw in the running order, this is time for the mystery question. The mystery question that will take us from the football to the film segment. And there's not a right or wrong answer to this question. But if you had to guess, what do you think Harry Maguire's favourite film would be? If he's sitting down, day after a match day, he just wants to sit down with the family or just on his own, he wants to put a film on. What film do you reckon Harry Maguire's putting on?
Ooh, that is a tough one. He seems like he likes a laugh, so I don't know, like a Hot Fuzz or a Shaun of the Dead, or maybe like his Sheffield like way lad, Full Monty, like sort of thing. But then also he could be like a bit more of a lad's lad, like a Guy Ritchie movie. That might be it. Like,
Oh,
he looks like,
he's so Guy Ritchie, isn't he?
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
like
I feel like
he definitely has a
he's
tweet
more.
somewhere that says "The Gentleman" on
Mm,
Prime. What a
I
movie,
was
or something like that.
I was just about to say, I feel like he is more the gentleman than Snatch. I feel like he'd lean more heavily towards like the gentleman and that new
Yeah.
one he's got out, which also has the word gentleman in the title. It's big
Or
into that as Guy Ritchie.
the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare or something like
Yeah,
that, or
I've
whatever it is.
still
I
yet
can't
to watch
remember.
it. Still yet to watch it,
I
but
watched a bit of it. It was a bit boring. Just
yeah,
simple about that.
my mate Reese is a huge Guy Ritchie fan, and I love Snatch, and I really like Lock Stock, but I can't get behind it. It's like Quentin Tarantino but British and a bit crap. That's kind of how I feel about Guy Ritchie.
I liked his
But
Sherlock
no,
Holmes movies. I'm just going to put that out there. I thought Sherlock Holmes
yet to
movies were
see them.
pretty good. I'd recommend them. They're pretty good. Like, I think it's stylized, and it's not your granddad's Sherlock Holmes sort of rubbish, but like, it works. I think Robert Downey Jr. is good, kind of, as Sherlock Holmes, playing like a very weird take on his Iron Man persona, like a very cocky, swami like sort of thing, but with the weirdness of Sherlock Holmes. Um, and then Jude Law kind of bounces off him well. And then in the second one, I think they have Jared Harris as the villain, and I think he's very good. So yeah, it's good movies. I think they're kind of like, they're underrated, and they kind of get a bit lost. And everyone's always like, "Oh, there's going to be a third one eventually, sometime, maybe." If Guy Ritchie decides to stop doing London crime movies with
He'll never stop
Bugsy
doing them.
Malone, with Bugsy Malone in.
So he
He's in
always goes
quite a
like,
few.
yeah, he always goes like one for him, one for you, one for him. He basically does one for Hollywood where he gets all the money and then finances his own film with it. I quite respect the hustle, but I want to go back to your childhood like we did at the
I
beginning
was
of the
about to say, and
podcast.
then there's
Go
Aladdin
on.
in there. There's Aladdin's in there
Yeah,
for some
that
reason.
was very much one for Hollywood. He must have got paid a lot of money for that. But
It's so
go on.
unhinged. It's such an unhinged movie to go and see,
Is that
because
the
it's
one
like,
Will Smith is in?
yeah, yeah, but there's
Oh
like
god,
Guy Ritchie slow motion at some points, and like camera movements, and you're there like, it's
he
like,
should
and
have
this is like it's in the middle of
he
like
should have
Prince
merged the
Ali.
two. Yeah, he should have merged the two. He should add Vinnie Jones as the genie. I think that would be maybe the last one of his career should be like a Disney-fied London crime film. I'm going to pitch it to him. He might be on it. But going back to childhood, I want to know your earliest. This isn't bad memories like football because films are fun. Football is not always fun. What are some early film memories as a child? Maybe it was a cinema trip with a family member or a film you had on repeat as a kid, for example. My first trip to cinema, I believe, was the Jaden Smith Karate Kid film, I think. And I used to always have the Simpsons movie on repeat as a child. What about you?
Uh, that's a good movie. Simpsons movie is very good.
It's a great movie. It's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, great. When you said Jane Smith, then I thought you were going to say After Earth, and I was like, oh god, that is a bad
No,
movie. I was like,
yeah, I like M
that
Night, but I won't do that to myself. I won't
there's
put myself through that.
So I'd say earliest memory of the cinema I can remember is Finding Nemo. When I watched that with my mum and my gran. So good memories there. Oh, it's still a good film. I haven't seen it in years, but like I just remember like it just being one of those movies. I'd be like, oh, like this is nice. As a cat child, it's like yeah, fish and cool turtles. Um,
And then just a
and then
family death in the middle. It's like, oh, well, that's ruined the fun.
I think I turned up late actually, so I think I missed the family death. I was just like, oh, this dad's pretty protective of
You
his
really lucked out there. That's like the perfect film. Just like
farm son.
an hour and a half of just loveliness.
But then, and a movie I always on repeat. I don't think this is like childhood. I think this is maybe a little bit older, but I kind of thought as it. My dad absolutely adores the Born movies, so like Born Identity, Supremacy, and Ultimatum. I think the last one came out in 2008, off the top of my head.
Sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah, so I have probably watched those movies with him, maybe upwards of 30 times each. He absolutely adores those movies. There was a time during my life that literally, like, I think over the course of 1 week, we watched them both, all three, twice through. Oh, and it was like a Christmas holiday, and I was like, "This is insane." And he was like, "It's a good movie, though, isn't it?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "And there's nothing else on." And I was like, "I could see your logic, but I'm like, and it's like, and we don't want to risk watching a bad movie." And I was like, your logic
Better
is
the devil you know.
complete.
Better the devil you know.
I was about to say, I was like, your logic is completely sound, and we're already at the sequence where he's like climbing through a bank. So I'm like, oh, fair, we'll watch it. And then it kind of got into the second one. It's like, I know we're at the chase scene, and I'm like, oh yeah, go on. And then it's literally like watch them back to back to back, and then put darts on straight after. So it's like over a Christmas break.
I've only seen the first Bond film and I didn't love it. I found it a bit dull, so I'm never going to meet your dad because I feel like he wouldn't like me. I think I've got it as like a 2.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd, and I don't know if I was just in a bad mood or I mean the way the action is cut doesn't really work for me. It's just like personal taste, but I can see why people like it. It's not really for me. So apologies to your dad for that one because I
I
feel
mean,
like I
don't
might
apologize to my dad. Apologize to me. I'm insulted here. You do realize I like these
apologize.
movies as well. I've not been like
Yeah,
sat down
but
and forced to watch them 30 times. I have watched them by
yeah,
choice.
yeah. Well, apologies to the entire Evans family, because I've just infiltrated with negativity on the Bourne franchise.
Thank you. I will pass it along.
It's a me problem. It's a me problem. Now obviously
It
as
is.
we've
It is.
we've clarified, big sports fans on this podcast. Most of the time, when sports isn't letting us down, we do like it. My favorite sports film is Moneyball. I think it's probably Moneyball. What is your favorite sports film? Honorable mention,
Rocky.
actually. Honorable mention to Mike Bassett, England manager. That's a close
Mike
second.
Bassett, England manager, is fantastic. It is honestly one of the funniest things I think I've ever seen. Like in general, like
It's
I
so
think
good.
I actually I've got that off my list. So I'm glad you actually brought it up because otherwise that would have gone unmentioned. And I do love Mike Bassett, England manager. The skillful feat of Mark Lawrenson on the dribbling machine just never fails to crack me up.
Was
I
that
literally I think
Maradona, Pele, and Mark
Mark,
Lawrenson?
it's like, why you put Mark Lawrenson on there? Right, money. It's just like, it's like always cracks me up. So you've unfortunately shown my hand because I know one of the later questions is what is one of my favorite films, just full stop. And you've already said it. So I'll go around the houses on a few more sports movies because I like a lot of sports movies. I'm into a sport like football, like F1, like NFL, basketball, like just generally a lot of sport on the card. So Rocky movies, solid. Rocky 1, Rocky 4, Rocky 1 to 4, Rocky Balboa.
Not Rocky Five.
They did a Rocky 5.
Yeah,
Sorry.
unfortunately it did. Unfortunately it did.
Uh,
My dad won't let anyone watch it in the house because it's like we watched all the Rocky films growing up, and I think he made us skip Rocky Five because it's just abysmal. It's a terrible film.
I pretend it just doesn't exist. That was the joke basically. I
Probably
do that
probably for
and
the best.
that and A Good Day to Die Hard. Both of them don't exist. Like in general, I can't do it with Indiana Jones unfortunately because they've done 2 now, and I'm like I have to acknowledge one of theirs existences.
Yeah.
But that and Good Day to Die Hard, I'm just like I just do not acknowledge existence. But Rocky 1 to 4, the Creed 1, Creed 3, I'm not too much on, but Creed 1 and 2, great movies. Rush, Rush is a great film.
Oh, that's
Rush is
another film my dad showed me. That's such a good film.
Yeah, it's probably one of the most cinematic sorts of films. I think it really gets across. I think it's one of Howard's best. I think it really gets across the sport so well, and like that kind of like that really tight sort of like tense moments, like the final race in that in the rain. Oh, one of my favorite like sport like moments in a film all time,
It's a
all
really
time.
satisfying film as well. Like when spoilers if you've not seen Rush from about 10 years ago.
So
When Chris
spoilers if
Hemsworth
you're
beats up the
not
journalist.
spoilers if you're not
Yeah.
into like 1970s F1 and don't know it off by heart. Come
Yeah, I
on.
feel like we could probably go about spoiler warning actually. But like when Chris Hemsworth's character beat up that journalist who slags off Niki Lauda's face. And then just the way it's cut, like the production value on that film is so stupidly good. That's a great shout. Another one my dad showed me, another sports film he showed me was a Mighty Ducks. That's got a soft spot in my heart. I'm a big ice hockey fan. I've not watched much ice hockey in the last couple of years because of uni, but I, whenever I see it, I always think, why don't you just do the flying V? Why not?
The Mighty Ducks is a great movie. Mighty Ducks 1, 2, and 3, absolutely storming films. Great. That's a good part of my childhood. I watched the Mighty Ducks a lot. I do like the Mighty Ducks. Do need to. I keep seeing their jumper like every once in a while on like this website. I'm like, one day I'll
Just
buy it.
calling out to you
Yeah.
like the Green Goblin mask in the corner. Buy
Yes,
me,
the Mighty
buy
Ducks.
me.
Yeah. What other sports movies do I think of? Actually, I got quite a few. Happy Gilmore, great movie.
Oh God, this is another hot take I had, and Flav Bateman didn't like me. Neither did James Orcott. To be fair, I think Happy Gilmore is the most 6 out of 10 comedy of all time. And yeah, this is the end of this episode. What about next week?
Walking away.
Maybe with a
I'm
guest.
walking away from the camera. No, I just no. That's offended me more than the Bourne Identity.
It's just fine. Like it's good, but it's just fine. Like Shoot McGavin is objectively a great character, and I don't know. It just didn't really work for me fully.
How can you not like? How can you say 6 out of 10 by Shoot McGavin going, "I eat pieces of shit like you for breakfast," and instantly just going,
You eat
"You
piece of shit
pieces
for
of
breakfast.
shit for breakfast." It's like, no.
Actually, on that vein, I will say one more sports film. Another one my dad showed me. Funnily enough, Dodgeball: A True Underdog Story. That is up there as well. That is an incredible film, and I will. A mate of mine says it's awful, and I don't think I've talked to him since actually. It's immaculate. Yeah, that's a good one. Any more to add
I
to the
agree.
list before we move on?
Ooh, I'm just having a think now. I'm guessing Karate Kid technically counts. It is a sports
Yeah,
movie.
well, I'm going to
but
count Warrior starring Tom Hardy and
The
Joel
Fighter
Edgerton.
is also a great
Yeah,
movie.
good. Is that the
I think
one with
that's
Mark
Christian
Wahlberg?
Bale and Mark
Yeah,
Wahlberg.
it's
Yeah.
a good film. Really
And
good film.
trying to think what else it is. Yeah, there's so many good sports movies. And also like if I'm gonna go into my like animated movies and stuff like that, like I'm pretty sure if you've ever like Japanese animated movies for sports films are insane. Like if you talk to like most sporting athletes, the reason they like sports is, especially in America, is anime. Especially in basketball, they really like something called like Kuroko no Basket, which is basically like the basketball that Kuroko plays or something like that. And it's like about these like young kids who are all like on this really youth team, and there's like 5 of them, and they're all like basically like the most insane basketball players ever. Like one of them basically can dribble on anyone, one can shoot from anywhere, all this sort of stuff. And then there's like a 6th guy who was kind of in like the shadows, but he was the one who like knitted it all together and was like technically the best player, so to speak, because he was like the one who actually knew how to like get them all to work together. But anyway, like so you go through the series, and they're all playing each other, and it's all like a tournament arc and all that sort of stuff. And it's like yeah, and everyone like loves it, and everyone has like their favorite characters. They did a film called The Last Game. And it was basically they just went, you know, those players that were just fighting each other, and you were like, oh, it's really annoying that we can only watch 2 of them on the court at the same time. They're now all on the same team, and they're just gonna do mad shit constantly. And I was like, yeah. I was like, we'll watch that. It's literally like every single moment of it is just like imagine like a sport highlight reel. It's like literally like, oh, it's like this can't get much better now. I've seen this. It's like, oh no, those 2 players are now doing something together. It's like they were never on screen together, and now they're just like they're doing alley oops and shit. It's like, yep, great movie. Honestly, watch it. Like it's great. It's one of those ones where you just like it's just good stuff to watch. It's like I think the Japanese just understand sports really well, and it's kind of really telling that basically whatever's the most popular sports anime becomes the most popular sport in Japan. Like, so like they're really into baseball, and there was like one called like Ace No Diamond for a bit. So they got really into that. I think they were actually into baseball, and then that got really popular, and then they basically shot up in baseball. Then that basketball got really popular, and after Kuroko, and then Haikyuu came out, which is about volleyball, and now volleyball is the most popular sport in Japan. It's like they honestly like they were playing in the Olympics, and they were just playing the music out as they were winning. Like they were basically like playing the music of like the hype moments just as they won and stuff like that. And I'm like, it's great. It's like honestly, it's like it's such a good testament to how the quality of it is. Is like it basically gets people into the actual sport.
Yeah, well, it's a huge market, isn't it? Not only because of the Japanese population, but like the influence. I didn't think this podcast would go here. The influence that Japanese culture has on kind of wider pop culture. Like, I'm not a big anime guy, mainly because I've just never given it a go. It's not because whatever, but like also it goes like cinema, like the Miyazaki films, for example. There's just the impact that yeah, it's staggering, really. But yeah, there was a lot of good shouts there. One final one, because you mentioned basketball, Coach Carter. Coach Carter gets a mention. But if a friend,
It's good. It's a good movie. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
However, it is one of those movies that I feel like is just kind of by the numbers, but it is just held up by a good Samuel Jackson performance. I
don't think I'll rewatch it because I think it might go down in my estimations if I did.
Remember the Titans. It's in the same vein as Remember the Titans.
Agree.
Remember the Titans is like very feel good, and you're like, oh okay, the plot's a bit simple, but then you like have Denzel just absolutely doing Denzel things. And you're like, great movie, like just like proper movie.
It's one. So weird thing about me, I've seen every single Ryan Gosling film apart from one, which I might watch tonight. And I always find it for like, obviously Ryan Gosling is like a huge leading man, and he's always big in films. I always find it really funny when he's just like got like a tiny role in a film. It's like he just pops up in Remember the Titans, like talks about how much he loves country music, and then I think he plays cornerback, and he's just terrible. I've got a lot of time for some small Ryan Gosling performances, but you mentioned it earlier, and I don't want to prolong the pain too much. I want to know your 3 favourite films of all time. And the reason we say 3 is because Letterboxd won't sue us. I'm going to limit you to 3. Did we mention one earlier accidentally?
Yeah,
we'll do 6.
I was about to say, if you did 5, we could be here for a while. But 3, it was hard narrowing it down to 3. It's hard narrowing it down to 4 on the aforementioned site. We don't want it to sue us. That is something to do with Americans might call it mailbox.
If they could work with us, that'd be great. Work with us, don't sue us. That's spit out
there. So we'll go with my all-time favorite movie, Jurassic Park. I love Jurassic Park. It has again, it's a movie I've watched countless times. I think it's one of Spielberg's best movies, easily. Like maybe there are better Spielberg movies. Like I think I've watched it once and been like, yeah, maybe this is better, but then it just doesn't have that like nostalgic like hold on me.
That feeling in your belly that's like, this is film. This is cinema.
A velociraptor claw goes across it, and Sam Neill traumatizes the child just because the child talked over him for like 2 seconds.
They've got to learn.
But and I like obviously then by extension I do still like the other Jurassic Park movies. Jurassic World we can take or leave, but like so Jurassic Park, how much I love Jurassic Park allows me to like Jurassic Park 3, where it has a velociraptor saying Alan within 15 minutes of it starting, and it's just like Tia Leone shouting a lot. It's not a good movie. And they get stalked. They get stalked by a walking pterodactyl on a bridge. It's not flying after them. It's just walking.
I like films that fully commit to the bit. Like if you're going to be stupid and you're going to be nonsensical, just commit to it. Don't take yourself too seriously. So
Jurassic Park. We did mention one before. Moneyball. I love Moneyball. I think
you can buy Moneyball in all good bookstores. I've still not read it, but it's a great film.
I don't have that. I don't have the Moneyball book because I feel like I feel like I'm just gonna be there. Like I'll start reading it and I just like could just watch Moneyball.
Yeah, I could save myself loads of time there. I just want to go to Brad Pitt.
I also had the problem with The Big Short. I had The Big Short book, and I think I read like so many pages of Michael Lewis because it's the same author. Just for people who are listening, they didn't know that. It's like just to make it clear that I'm not just bringing up The Big Short for no reason. I read some of it and I was like, I could just watch Big Short. I could watch Margot Robbie explain this point to me. It's like
I had that with the June books. So I love both. I've read June 1 and June and June Messiah, and they are like incredible books. But there was a part of me that just went, I could watch Timothée Chalamet right now, or I could watch quite a bad David Lynch movie right now. But you got to persevere with these things.
oh, you could watch the 2003 James McAvoy teleseries, Children of
Tried
Doom.
watching that. I tried watching. Well, I
It's
tried
not
watching the
good.
no. I tried watching the. They made obviously the teleseries of the original book as well. And it's just like Stargate. Like I look at it and go, this is just like a weird version of Stargate with no Stargates.
But yeah, Moneyball. Honestly, like I cannot speak like highly enough of Moneyball. Like the fact that it is a movie about the behind the scenes of baseball. There's hardly any baseball in it. Most of it is like obviously there's a couple of moments they actually do, but most of it is like footage from the actual run and spreadsheets. And yet they get you fully invested in these men being so good at spreadsheets. You're like, yes, Jonah Hill and Brad Pitt, you work those spreadsheets. You get the man who can get the averages. You tell this old man that he could hit a better home run.
He
It's
gets
like
on base. That's all that matters.
he gets on
That's all that
base,
matters.
and then instead of showing me that, have some really swelling music and have Brad Pitt working out in a gym instead, or listening to his daughter's song. I don't know, but like you're there, like this could be terrible. Like I'm saying this out loud. I'm like, this is a terrible movie. But then you watch it and you're like, my god, this movie's good. It's like this movie. It's a proper people in rooms talking movie, but it's like it's one of the better ones. Those sorts of movies when they hit, like All the President's Men, Spotlight, and those movies where it's just like people in rooms talking to each other and just saying like things that just really hit, and like the dialogue's just so good. You're just there like these movies really and Moneyball is like one of my favorites for that.
I
And then I have
I
to
wrote
say a third as well. But like,
just
I know
very
you.
quickly before I jump in. I wrote in my review for Moneyball in April. I put, where do I start? Incredible pacing and entertainment for a film that is essentially about spreadsheets. Yet for something as cold and emotionless as raw data, there's so much humanity and warmth within the story. And I think like the way it gets you invested in not just the data and the spread, which is great. I love data in sports and stuff, so that's right on my street. But like the warmth and the love and because it's essentially Moneyball isn't just about data; it's about individuals and about people. And yeah, I've got so much time for that. But yeah, what's your third film? Not your third favorite film because I don't know if it is, but what's third on your list?
It was difficult. There was so many that I was like for this spot. Like honorable mentions. I love Tron Legacy. Like that's a bold one. Like some people will be like that movie's not very good, or just like a very, as you used before to use your phrase, a 6 out of 10 movie. I love that movie. It's just so good. It's so cool. Like it's such a cool movie. Like you've got Jeff Bridges going bow digital jazz, man, and then just like Daft Punk score, and then just like light bikes. And you're like, this is a cool movie. Like this is like I watched that a lot. Like, you can tell. You can just see it in my eyes. I'm just like, yeah, I might watch Tron Legacy. Maybe that should have been my third film, but no.
You're selling me on it. I might go watch it now because I've got a lot of time for stuff like that.
Oh, it's so good. It's like it's also like when you see the behind the scenes stuff. It's like they made these suits and they used like they made like they invented a new fabric that they could basically weave lights into. So like they have like
Now you're
practical
talking my
suits and stuff.
language. Costume
Like,
design. Whew.
but yeah, but like they did all that sort of stuff, and it's honestly just a great movie. Like such a good movie. But I'll get to the third movie. It's got to be The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It just has to be. I have such a good relationship with The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly because originally it was one of those movies that your dad sits you down and he goes, "I'm going to show you a movie that's really good, and you're going to hate it. You're going to absolutely hate it. Like it's going to be 3 hours of really bad ADR, like men stood around." And talking, and then the occasional really laboured gunfight. And I know I've just taken you away from playing Halo, which is the exact opposite of this, but you're gonna watch it, and then you watch it once, and you're like, yeah, fair enough. That's just 3 hours of my time. Cowboys are cool, I guess. I like the part where they all shoot each other. Like, great. And then and then you're like a bit later on, you're like, your dad will be watching it again because he likes it. You're like, oh, maybe I'll give it another shot. Like, you might miss like the first 20 minutes, but you know what happens. And then you just watch it again, and you're like, you know what, this is actually pretty cool when you watch it for a bit
He
longer.
might have
It's
had
like,
a point.
might have had a point. It's like just Clint Eastwood just standing around looking cool. It's like that's really cool. And then you watch it a third time, and you're like, oh my god, this movie's just so good, so good. You're like Ennio Morricone score just going ham in the background, just like with he's just twanging a guitar, and it's just like dun, 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 just like people staring each other out and like guns and like that, and you're like this just looks cool. Like this is just a vibe. And then like obviously like as it's gone on older, it's like I've watched other cowboy movies, so that like Unforgiven, which I love. Unforgiven's another one way up there for me. And you watch like A Fistful of Dollars and the other a few dollars more, the rest of that trilogy. That he definitely ripped off Seven Samurai, but we will not get into that right now. And you watch like what's talking about Time in the West. You watch all that sort of stuff, and then like you're like, he's just so good. And then you watch The Good, the Bad, the Ugly for the fourth time, and you're like, but this is better. This is it. This is like that. And then you play Red Dead Redemption 2 and you watch it again and you're like, oh, okay, my life's changed now. It's like cowboys. It's like, I just want to live in the old West. Just want to walk around on a horse and just go into bars and just like go. It's like, how are you doing? How doing better?
There's a cyclical nature to being a man in his his 20s or whatever, where you start as a kid and you go, oh, I want to be a cowboy, and you grow up and you're like, oh, I want to be a footballer, and then you reach your 20s like, I'd quite like to be a cowboy again.
Yeah.
Everything in life informs being a cowboy.
Yeah.
I have a lot of
So when
respect
you're a
for
kid,
that.
it's like you're a kid. It's like you see a cool jacket and you're like, I want a cool jacket. It's like the one that's in like Power Rangers or something. It's like that main character has a cool jacket. Then you're football. It's like, I want a footballer's boots. And then you go back to being 20 years old. It's like, I want a cool jacket again. It's like so cyclical.
Want some tassels? Want some tassels?
I want some tassels. I want some leather. I want some suede. Bring me some suede.
I nearly brought a suede jacket when I was in Rome a couple of weeks ago, and it's like a burnt orange. It was like €100, and I nearly brought it, and I didn't. But a small part of me goes, I wish I did. I don't own any. I own like a pink denim jacket, but that is not on the same level. That's
I
my
was about to say
Barbie jacket.
that's very Ken. I was about to say, did
Yeah,
you go as Ken?
well, I didn't go as Ken when I saw Barbie, no, but much to the dismay of my girlfriend at the time, I did wear the pink denim jacket to see Barbie, and I don't regret it. I looked good, and that jacket gets worn 3 times a year, but it's one of my favorite jackets I own because who doesn't need that in their life? But no, I love those 3 shouts. I've not seen The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. I'm planning on this next year, 2025, going back and watching quite a few of the classics that I haven't seen, which we'll get to later on. But if your mate approaches you, I don't know, gives you a text, you're in the pub and he goes, okay, so I really want to watch a film, and he's not massively into films. He's maybe seen however many. What is one film you'll recommend to him or her or they that is like a go-to? It's like yeah, he'll get this. Like for example, I would recommend Warrior to most people because I think it's hard not to like Warrior. It's 2 men beating each other up with a family feud in there. What's not to love?
There's such a hard question as well because like first off you have to make the assumption that they've seen Star Wars, they've seen like Lord of the Rings. It's like if
There's
there's
a weird middle ground there, isn't there, where you can't go like I wouldn't recommend someone watch my favorite ever film is Punch Drunk Love. I probably wouldn't recommend people watch Punch Drunk Love if they're not massively into films. But equally, I'm not going to recommend them like say Star Wars because everyone's seen Star Wars. So there's like a weird middle ground that you've got to hit.
yeah. It's like it's like you've either seen Star Wars or they're not interested in Star Wars. It's like there's no in between. It's not like, oh yeah, I actually would be really interested in watching Star Wars. I've not watched it as a 26-year-old man woman other. Like it's like
You're doing it now. I felt like I was turning as like David Brent when I went he or she or they. It's
I was like,
infectious.
literally, because you did it. I was like, oh no, it's like, but like, it's like, if it's the 26 years old. It's like they've either seen it or don't like it. There's no in between there. It's the same with Lord of the Rings. It's the same with like Indiana Jones.
Absolutely.
Like I think depending on the person, maybe Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of reaches the barrier of just being like, oh, you never watched those Indiana Jones movies? I was like, you need to watch those Indiana Jones
Yeah,
movies.
I'm more of a Last Crusade guy. Last Crusade's
Yeah. Last
is the top
Crusade
of the list
is
for me.
Last Crusade and Die Hard with a Vengeance are two of the greatest third movies of all time that
Mm.
somehow, in some ways, are better than the originals. Well, obviously, Die Hard, and that's a very controversial thing because Die Hard and Raiders are like perfect movies. But I think that even though the third ones are imperfect movies, they just kind of have a little bit more fun with it. And I feel like that sometimes is what you want. And like, if it wasn't the third, and this is the thing, if it wasn't the third movie and it didn't require some like previous knowledge on the character, those would probably be in there, like Die Hard with a Vengeance and Die Hard with a Vengeance is probably up there as well. But like, or Last Crusade, because it's like it's just one of those ones where it's like it's just fun, it's easy. Like, and also I feel like if you're recommending someone a movie over 2 hours, it's like
Yeah,
I don't
that's
want to
another
be
thing
yeah.
to. I remember Ali Maxwell messaged me earlier on the year. He was like, "Right, I need a film recommendation." He went, "I've got this level of quality, like no Marvel, around 90 minutes, like not this genre." I was like, "Jesus Christ, I can't remember what I recommended him, but it's like he was so stringent with the recommendation system. I felt hamstrung. I was stressed. It was a terrible time.
I have a mate who did this. The one movie I think he was like it has to be. He wanted it to be sci-fi, but not like stupidly in the future. He didn't want any like Marvel superhero movies. I think he didn't want any like romance, and I was like, that's an interesting one. I was like,
Mm.
that's that. He's like, I was like, can you have minor romance? And he was like, yeah, but he's like, I don't want it to be like central. I was like, okay,
I would go if
I think,
I was in your shoes. I'd probably go Minority Report in that situation. I love
yeah.
Minority.
So
I think Minority Report's my favorite Spielberg film. Actually, I think it just hits for me. It just really hits.
good. It's a good shout. It's a good shout. I think it's one of the Indiana Jones movies. It's probably Raiders. It's, as I said, Jurassic Park is up there, but I think like Raiders or Jaws probably. Spielberg. I tried to start watching West Side Story before. Like this might come into another question, so I might leave that now. But yeah, I like West Side Story's direction. I have an issue with West Side Story as a thing, so I'll get into that after that. So we'll talk about it in a bit. But yeah, back to recommendations. I've kind of gone off on the tangent, which is what would always happen if someone asked me for a recommendation. I just like kind of like go,
Just recommend
well, what's
82 films and go one of them.
yeah, I was like, just throw a dart, just put out a dartboard and throw at one of these. It'll be all right. So for that friend, I end up with Sunshine, and that would probably be up there. I think I'm going to go
Is
two.
that the Danny Boyle one?
It is.
I wasn't
It
a huge
is.
fan of that, but I think that was more me than. But it is a good film. That's a good film to
So
recommend.
I think it's a film that I think everyone should watch because most people have said that watch it really like the first 2/3 of it.
I'm the exact
And
same. I'm the exact same.
I'm like, you will like the first 2/3 of it because it's a really good movie. It's like you may lose it on the third, but I feel like you'll thank me for having watched the first 2/3, and I feel like that's how everyone always ends up having it. It's like a couple of people are like, I was fine with the ending. It's like it didn't really ruin it. For
The
me. I was
ending
like,
is mental. It's
it
absolutely
goes
mental.
so far off the rails. Like honestly, that's the only reason I don't have it up there is because it's just literally like I don't mind the ending, but even I'm like it's like much slower than the rest of the movie, and like the rest of the movie is perfect for me. I would go, and I'm going to go with a little bit of an old school movie. I'll go with My Cousin Vinny.
I need to watch that, so I'm going to take that as a recommendation for me because I was planning on watching that at some point.
So it is. It's so funny. It's such a good movie. It's such a good, nice like. It's one of those movies that like kind of comes out. It's obviously I say it's an Oscar. It's got an Oscar winner in it. This is like Marissa Tomei won an Oscar for it, and then everyone had a go at her because she won it for a comedy movie, and they never gave an Oscar for a comedy movie ever again because
That is a crying shame. A crying shame.
It is a crying shame because it is like I hate the Oscars to a degree, and this is a completely other conversation that probably would take an entire podcast by itself. But
well, we got you back for another episode to slag off the Oscar.
Oh, God, why do I sign myself into these situations? But it is like it says the best performance, and it's always dramatic. And I'm like, there are just these movies where I'm like, it's some like it takes a lot to do comedy. Like I like Daniel Day-Lewis is like a great actor. I'm not going to say wrong, but like he only does he does like the odd comedy little bits, but it's
It's
mainly
harder
like.
to be funny than to be sad. Like it's way hard. Like even just like in life, like it can be so hard to tell a joke that lands and it makes everyone laugh, but you can say a bit of a sob story and it'll make people well up. I'm not saying drama isn't easy by any means, but I completely agree. I think there's
But
some
it's like when you see these
yeah,
Oscar nominations, it's just like a very shouty drama, and it's like someone in like it's like you got nominated because of this very shouty speech, and I'm like,
Daniel Day Lewis.
yeah, yeah. It's like there's like in some comedy performances, it's like the subtleties of the perform, and it's like well, they had these really nice moments in between as well. It's like yeah, but that's a comedy performance, isn't it? Like comedy performance is like you have the laugh out loud moments and the delivery of the comedy, but then you also have the subtlety in between it because if you were trying to make someone laugh every minute, you usually fall flat on your face. Like there's only very few movies that is literally just like joke, 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 joke,
Airplane.
joke, joke.
Airplane is a great example of that.
Airplane was going to be my example. Was going to be my example. Like it's like there's only and that very much leans into the fact that you should not take anything that is happening seriously,
Yeah,
which then obviously like limits it. But like to tell a story while also being funny, while also like allowing the subtlety for the story to happen, and also allow someone else to come into the comedy as well. Like I think Ryan Gosling in The Nice Guys is probably a really good example.
that's
Nice
such a
Guys
good
would be on
film.
the recommendation as well. That's
That's
one of the ones
absolutely on
I'd
the
say.
list. Yeah,
Yeah, it's just like such a good performance because both of them are really have that chemistry of being able to just let the other one be funny when they need to be, and then but also like when they're both kind of like switching between being funny, you don't lose the story either. So yeah. Anyway, back to My Cousin Vinny. It's just a very funny movie. It's just a very feel good movie. Joe Pesci is incredible in it. Like Joe Pesci's such a good actor. He's obviously he again. I think is he Oscar winning? Oscar winning for Goodfellas. I think.
yeah, that sounds about right. If he's not, he should be, and that's another reason why
I
we don't like
think
the
he
Oscars.
did. Yeah, I think he is. But I know obviously he has like Casino and some other, and I think he's in The Irishman and so on and so forth. But like he is a very funny guy. He's in Home Alone, so on and so forth. But like his performance in My Cousin Vinny is just so good. Like it's just such like so. Basically, the premise is that these two lads are doing a road trip across America. They just finished college, and they go into a store, and one of them accidentally steals a can of soup. Anyway, they leave, and as they leave, someone comes in and kills the clerk. So they get pulled over because they've left the scene, and they get arrested. And basically the misunderstanding is that they are. They think that they're getting pulled over for the soup, so they just basically admit to a crime,
That's a
and
great
then
setup for a film. That's
and
such a
then they
good
go at the
setup.
end. It's like, and then you killed the clerk, and he's like, I killed the clerk. He's like, yeah, you killed the clerk. It's like, I killed the clerk. It's like, so basically that sounds like a confession, and then basically it's like they can't afford because the college kids can't afford a lawyer, so they just go, oh, my cousin Vinny is one, and he's like, and he just comes in full leather jacket in a very loud car with his loud girlfriend, and just be like, hey. And then that's just the movie. The good movie goes from there, and it's just like one of those fish out of waters, like kind of like coming back stories, like courtroom, but like different than normal courtroom dramas because it's not as serious. Even though like there still is the stakes of if he doesn't like solve it, there basically can get the death penalty for killing his clerk. So it's like it's a very good movie, and I'd highly recommend anyone to watch it. The listening.
Wow,
So
that's actually
that's
that's a new segment we've started with a guest. We used to do a thing called film homework where we'd have the guests recommend us a film. But I'll be honest, we got some really bad recommendations, and I ended that segment because I didn't want to watch bad films anymore. But I will be watching My Cousin Vinny because yeah, it sounds quite good.
you have to
Now
message me and tell me what you think.
I will, I absolutely will. Now we are coming towards the end of the show. We still have a few little bits. I know you've watched The Color of Money recently, but I want to, and great review by the way on your letterbox, which is Casey Evans. You definitely read that review; it's fantastic. What is a film you've watched recently, and what are your thoughts on it? Very simple.
So I have just so I'll do the last two because I feel like I can segue into the other one. So I have just put a review up for Klaus, which I watched last night. Or Claus, technically how you pronounce it, but anyway,
Depends who you ask.
depends who you ask. So I tried starting watching West Side Story, and people are going to shout at me because it's quite clearly a very well directed movie. Quite clearly has a lot of good performances in it. Quite clearly is that. I hate West Side Story. I despise it. I had to do it for music at school. I watched it about 4 times, the old version, which is Oscar winning, by the way. But if you watch a film 4 times and then have to do the songs constantly and do everything around it, you're going to end up hating it. Pan's Labyrinth is the exact same for me. I had to do it with Spanish.
I
But
watched E.T. I did for GCSE. I did film studies, and I watched E.T. I reckon about 5 or 6 times. Clearly a good film. I'll never watch E.T. again because I've just seen it so much. It grates on me.
so I was like, I was so when it came out, I heard everyone say it was good. Like a couple of friends watched it. They said, "Oh, it's really good." Like they obviously been in the same scenario as me, and they were like, "Oh, um, I like it's good. You should watch it regardless." And I was like, "I'll put it off, put it off." So the other day, I was like, "Oh, I'll watch it." And just the first song hit, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is horrid." It's like it just took me straight back, and I was like, "No." It's like I can't listen to When You're a Jet, and then it was like I got through that, and I was like, maybe it'll be fine. And then it was like, I like to be in America, and I was like, no, turned it off. I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's like so that was like I was going to say that one, but then that wasn't like a full review, so I technically haven't watched the whole thing. Then I watched Klaus last night, and that is a magical movie. I'm going to say this now. I don't really like Christmas movies. I find them genuinely pointless because most of them are not that good. I think like
Mm.
most of them are just like, and they're too heavily in the thing of Christmas. Like I mean, Elf is fine, but I don't have like this whole mania that everyone has over Elf. It's
I
like
don't
I
agree, but
haven't.
I do see where you're coming from. Like it's a bit like you see like the Hallmark classics. We got a friend called Catherine who watches every Christmas film is like from like this area is like it's a red or green background with a woman stood next to a man and a bunch of tinsel. It's like I will never watch those films because I look at them and I go, well, yeah, it's gonna be crap. Um, but I've seen Klaus get a lot of love recently. Why is it
So
so good?
but then it's like people go every year. I will sit down and I will watch this movie, and I'm like, why? It's like it's fine. Like I might watch it if it's on, but I was like, they're not. It's like I'd rather go into. There's like a load of movies that aren't Christmas movies, but they kind of get associated with Christmas. Like you kind of get obviously, like Die Hard is a Christmas movie. We're gonna bring that one into
I
that. It's
agree.
very.
I agree.
It's set around a Christmas party. It's a very key part of the plot, and they work it into the plot quite well. It's a Christmas movie, even if Bruce Willis says it's not. That's just because Bruce Willis wants to get played more at Christmas, who gets more royalties. That's why Bruce Willis said it wasn't a Christmas movie. Um, Obviously, I hope he's doing okay now. But
There's,
just like
there's
it's
a,
a really,
there's a Bruce Willis call out there. Brave.
I was about to say, Bruce Willis is obviously now ill,
You
so
went
like,
you
I'm
went
not
very
actually calling
Lampard
him out.
there. You slagged
I
him
was
off and
gonna
then went,
say,
but we do hope he gets better soon.
I love Bruce Willis. I think I know obviously he's very very ill now, and he's with his family, and like I hope he's doing all the best and stuff like that. And like, but like back in the day when he said that, I was like, no, no, I know why you're saying this. It
Mm.
is a Christmas movie. It's like Gremlins. It's like the whole crux of Gremlins is he gets the gremlin for a Christmas present. So like, it's a Christmas movie. It's set at Christmas. I know that some movies did that back in the day, so they would basically have that holiday season sort of thing. But yeah, so I won't watch. I watch Die Hard because I'm like, Die Hard's a really good movie, but I just don't see the whole point of like watching a movie because it's like it's Christmas. Let's watch a Christmas movie. So there's only a few movies that I'll watch because of that. One of them's The Holdovers. Now I've already watched that this
Great,
year.
fantastic. Yeah.
Loved that movie. Watched it last year. I watched it through completely legal means on Christmas Day evening.
Yeah,
Completely legal.
I also watched it for illegal means the other week, and I legally
Yeah.
cried. So all legal,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah, because it was because you know what really helps a Christmas movie's marketing, releasing it in the middle of January. But
I
and
saw
then
a trailer for Baby Girl. Like, yeah, I went to see Queer yesterday in the cinema, and they put a trailer for Baby Girl, and it was like it was all about Christmas. It's like coming out January 5th. It's like what we do, what?
yeah, the 12th day of Christmas is the day after. It's nearly over. It's nearly done. Why are you doing this? Like it was January 17th. I remember because I went and watched it afterwards. I was like, I went and watched it again. I was like, I'm going to watch it in the cinema, and I'm going to make sure that I watch it and pay for the ticket and stuff. But I was like, it's a Christmas movie. It's literally about Christmas. Um, but yeah, I've watched The Holdovers already because I think that's a great movie. I love The Holdovers. And I haven't watched it yet, but I will watch Jingle All the Way. Not because it's a good movie, but because it's just an absolute dumpster fire. And it's just so enjoyable. It's such a dumb movie. Like, it
Thoughts? So
just is. Go on,
my
yeah.
family's favorite Christmas film, and I love it as well. And look, I won't be offended if you don't like it because I've already offended you with Jason Bourne. Have you seen the Muppets Christmas Carol?
Okay, yeah, I get you that one.
Mm.
Watching a version of the Christmas Carol is fine. Like that's what I
Yeah.
mean. It's the Christmas. It is the Christmas movie. Like that's what I mean. If you pick
And the
it,
Muppets version
whichever.
is for me the definitive version of that film. I know it's stupid because you got Rizzo.
Could you
Ri-
imagine? Could you imagine dragging Charles Dickens to this day and age and being like, so it's like my works that I've done for all this time. Obviously, you put a man. That Karl Marx one was like, you put a man on the moon. It's like not even like focusing on his work. It's like you. There's light in a box. Like,
It's got Michael Caine in it. What more do you want, Charles?
yeah.
Come on.
But it's like, get past all that. It's like, so of all my works of David Copperfield, Pickwick Papers, and like, of course, my masterwork, The Christmas Carol, how are you presenting it to the media and audiences? And they just pop up some puppets, and they'd be like, what? It's like we got a human man in it. There's only
He'd
one
love
guy.
it though. He'd love it. Like, you telling me Charles Dickens wouldn't love Gonzo? I refuse to believe
Yeah.
that's true.
You'd have to probably show him a few episodes of the Muppets first, just to
Yeah,
explain
you
what
have
was
to
going on.
contextualize it. Right, this is going to
You
sound
just
mental, Charles. Just sit down, just enjoy this, and then we're going to get
I
to
was
your
about to
film
say,
later.
could you imagine culture shock? It's like if you brought a Neanderthal, they'd have a heart attack over seeing electricity. It's just like you sat Charles Dickens down in a room and just started playing the Christmas Carol, but it's all puppets. It's just a frog as Bob Cratchit, and it's just like and Gonzo and everything, and you're like, what is going on here?
If I ever
Just
make a
pause.
film, I might make an adaptation of it. It'd be like Synecdoche in New York. It would be someone going to Charles Dickens and sitting him down and watching him watch Muppets Christmas Carol, and it would be like that'd be how he died.
I'm
It'd
gonna
be just
question for
watching
you,
Christmas
and
Carol.
obviously this wasn't on your original questions, but if you could pick a film, any film, and replace everyone in it by one character as Muppets, what film would it be, and what character would you not replace?
No, I think Lawrence of Arabia, and I'd have Lawrence as the only non-Muppet.
No, because someone made this point about Lord of the Rings. What you should do is like everyone is Muppets by one soldier. So it's just like when it's like the big
One guy,
war
just like an
scenes and stuff
off-screen
like that.
extra.
It's just it's just like when it's the big war scenes, you just have like loads of puppets and then just one guy just looking very confused about why he's
Have
in
you seen
this war.
Extras?
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of it. Yeah, back
You
in the
know,
day.
in the first episode, it starts with like this gruesome war scene, like Ben Stiller's directing, and then you just like you see Ricky Gervais, and that would be like Lawrence of Arabia. It'd be like the camera would pan across the desert, and it would see a train being shot at by a bunch of Muppets, and then just one bloke, and what the fuck's going on here? I think that's the best
Uh,
answer.
yeah,
I'm not used to being asked questions, so I feel like I've done quite well
yeah.
there.
I feel like I'd go with the tragedy in Macbeth, the one with Denzel Washington that's in like black and white and artfully shot. Just have
Denzel
Denzel
being the only,
Washington,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely like masterclass of acting because it's like Shakespearean, like you're like oh, and then just literally like just cuts the other frame and it's just Gonzo just going
I think Training Day might be a good shout as well. I feel like Denzel films.
Denzel film. I'm King Kong of it, just surrounded by Muppets and just gets gunned down by one.
Was it you're
Spoilers for
shooting hoops
Training
in Pelican Bay? It's just Rizzo going, what?
Yeah, any Denzel movie, Man on Fire, but he's just torturing Muppets for information about where
Uh,
Dakota Fanning is, but it's
Going
actually
back
Miss
to it,
Piggy.
remember the Titans? That could work. For all the football players are Muppets. Oh, right. Well, I know the episode's going to be titled now. This is my job for me.
American Gangster, but it's Denzel surrounded by Muppets.
Well, if anyone's listening and wants to do some kind of Photoshop edit of Denzel Washington with a bunch of Muppets, please do and send it to me. Um, right, go into a serious topic now. What is a film, and I'm not talking about Denzel with Muppets, what is a famous film, a cinematic blind spot, if you will, that you haven't seen? For example, I have seen 355 films this year, over 900 in my entire life, and I've not seen The Godfather. That's my blind spot.
That was actually going to be my answer as well. I've not seen any of the Godfather movies.
You go Godfather 2, and then we'll go duos on it.
So I was gonna give you again. I was gonna give you two. I was gonna give you a Christmassy answer. I've never seen How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the Jim Carrey one.
It's all
My
right.
dad hates Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
But it's
What?
one of those ones where he doesn't like he doesn't like Robin Williams either.
Oh,
It was weird.
God, this isn't going well because I love Robin Williams.
I was about to say you and my dad would not get on.
No, we'd
He
hate each
likes
other.
Robin Williams in a few things. To be fair, he likes him in Mrs. Doubtfire and he likes him in Good Will Hunting. But
Mm.
he doesn't really like him like in general. I think he found his stand up annoying back in the day. But yeah, so I haven't seen The Grinch because he just doesn't like Jim Carrey. I just never got around to watching it, and I know a lot of people love it, so that's a big blind spot Christmas movie wise. But yeah, I've never seen The Godfather. I've never seen Godfather 1, 2, or 3, and I've been told multiple times by people to watch it. I've been told to just sit down and watch it, and I'm like, well, it's a long movie, and it's one of those ones like you feel like you have to give your attention to it,
Mm.
like it probably its reputation probably precedes itself in that regard. Like I think it is one of those ones where it's like I need 3 hours where I can sit down, I can put my phone to one side. I don't have to worry about anyone texting me. I don't have to worry about like um going and picking up some post. I don't have to go and worry about cooking anything. I don't have to worry about like XYZ. I can just sit here and watch that movie with all of my. And it
I
needs to be the
almost
right
need to
mindset as well.
see. I almost need to see
Yeah.
The Godfather in the cinema because then I won't look at my phone
See, this is
and I
the thing.
won't.
Yeah. I'm like the cinema is the perfect thing because it's like you just need the cinema atmosphere, but at home. But obviously, that's just so hard to equate because like if I try and watch at home now, obviously I'm with my parents here and like everything. It's like my mom will just come in and ask me a question, and I'm like, "Can you see Al Pacino's talking?" It's like it's a
Yeah,
really tense scene.
yeah.
It's like and you're just
Watch
asking me what I
Francis
want
Ford
for
Coppola
tea.
is directing. Don't talk to me.
Yeah, I was about to say it's a really tense scene. It's like Marlon Brando is acting his ass off here, and you're asking me, "Do I want chips for tea?" How am
Yes,
I
I do
meant to
want chips,
concentrate?
but equally, I want to watch this
Yes.
film.
I was about to say, the answer is still yes, but I need to watch this movie. It's like it's like one of those things. It's like you get in those scenarios where you're like, oh yeah, like I think like some of the movies. There are some movies that just like get in that sort of mindset where it's like people are like, you need to properly focus on this and really enjoy it. And I'm like, I, I
Lawrence of
like
Arabia,
movies.
that was one. It's nearly 4 hours long, and I was so hyper fixated on it because I was like, right, if I can get through the first 30 minutes without looking at my phone, I'll be locked in for the rest of it. And yeah, Lawrence of Arabia is it's one I always feel like with the classics, like you're almost supposed to love them, so I don't want to watch them. Because like, there's so much pressure on watching a film. But Lawrence of Arabia it lives up to it. If you haven't
My
seen that,
my
what a
opinion
film.
on Heat. Yeah. Also, this is I'm going to bring this in because Cal Anka, uh, friend of the United
I want to
fans
get Carl on
everywhere.
the podcast. I'm determined to get him on one day.
Cal will be would talk longer than I would. Like that man. Every single chat I ever have with that man, even if it's about football or work, ends up in films somehow or X-Men. Like just how he fits the X-Men movies, which is again a no whole of a podcast topic, just in general. But I have never finished watching Heat. I have tried to watch Heat 3
Oh, that's one of
times.
my favorite ever films. But
I
it
have
is
fallen
long.
asleep every single time. I the Family Guy meme of it insists upon itself is how I always talk about it, which I know everyone's like, oh, that's
Yeah.
really bottom tier film criticism, but it is like
It's
it's
true
like The
though. It's
Godfather.
true.
It takes your attention. It's like I want your attention, and I'm like I don't have good attention span, so I'm like
Megalopolis insisted upon itself. It's a very fair criticism of films like that kind of. I think I referred.
Megalopolis had someone breaking into your house to tell
Yeah,
to speak
I,
to
I
Adam
think
Driver on the
in my
street.
review of Megalopolis, refer to it as self-fellatio. And again, just insists upon itself. It's too much.
Mm. That is a strong image to go.
Well, this is what you got to do in writing these days. You've got to make visual metaphors that are absolutely abhorrent. Don't picture that.
Yeah,
It's a
true.
bad visual.
No, don't.
No, we are going to end the podcast. That's not the end. Don't worry. I've still got one more little bit for you. Normally,
I was about
Veronica.
to say, no, I was about to say, don't even,
Yeah,
don't
I
even
did a
have an
great intro. I've smashed intros. That's my outro. We're done. We're over. Now, Veronica normally does this bit, but obviously she isn't here, so I've taken the liberty of putting together 7 quick fire questions. Some about film, some not, some about Christmas. How are you feeling up to the task of answering 7 quick fire questions?
Is it trivia based or is it just like
No.
personal opinion?
Opinion. Opinion.
God, my heart just went for a
It's not
second.
the
I was like,
chase.
I was about to say, I was like, I was like, I feel like I've got through this by saying Stoker's League Cup finalist. I thought I got through like this podcast pretty scot
That was
free
a
in terms of
Freudian slip. Don't worry. Don't you worry.
making an ass out of myself. But then I was
No,
like, I was
these
waiting
are
for
nice
the.
questions. These are nice questions.
Okay,
Don't worry.
go.
Number one.
Right, I'm ready. Prepared. Go on.
What is your favourite film of 2024? So 2024 release.
Ooh, that's a hard one. Furiosa.
Good shout. Good shout. Number two. If you're buying a bottle of water from the shop, what brand are you going to go for?
Ooh, I don't usually buy bottled water from the shop. I usually get it from the tap. But if I was to go out my way to be bougie, it'd probably Fiji. But like that's
Fiji.
I don't buy water from the shop. It's just generally like
I only ever do when I
if
travel.
this is what I mean. Like if I'm in that situation where I'm paying a lot for it anyway, and it's there, I'll buy it because it is nice. Like it is nice and crisp and whatever. Like I know water thing, but it's like just drink it from the tap.
I'm at this right here. Bottle tap water. Love a bit of tap water. Though I've got
Yeah.
hard water down here, which is our concern. Anyway, number three. Now, this is a bit of a horrible question because I hate this question. But if you could choose any actor to play you, who would you choose?
If I could get any actor to play me, who would I choose?
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting one. Someone said I should get Jonah Hill, which was really bad because that was before Jonah Hill lost all his weight. But again, I was also
This is
pretty
during
big at that
super bad era.
I know, yeah, this is during the super bad area. Can I go back to the Muppets?
Yeah.
Kermit the Frog.
Yeah.
I'll have
Yeah,
Gonzo
right. I'll
play
go.
me.
I'll have Rizzo. I'll have Rizzo play me. You
I'll
have
have
is it
Gonzo
Gonzo?
play me. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect.
But in actual, just say like I don't know, Chris Pratt. I like Chris Pratt. I think he's a.
Mm.
I think he plays the everyman very well, and that's how I try and portray myself. So I don't know, and I also like in Parks and Rec, which is kind of basically what I base my humor on for about 3 years. So
That's fair. That's fair. Number four. Heroes or celebrations?
ooh. Can I say Quality Street to be hipster? No, I
Roses.
probably Quality Street would be hipster. Probably Celebrations, though. They definitely need to reduce the number of bounties in there and also bring back the Galaxy Truffles. I have still not recovered from 2007 when they were removed.
Yeah, I'm a celebrations guy as well. My nan gets me Heroes Advent calendar every year, and I just have to go to my little sister. Do you want my Claire's and my cream eggs? And so I'm just missing half the calendar.
That's how you know you're not the favorite grandchild.
Yeah, she got a Maltesers one. I get the Heroes.
This is how you know you're not the favorite grandchild. If you basically have said, I don't like Heroes, and she just keeps giving you a
Well,
Heroes
in fairness, I've
Advent
not actually said that to her because I don't want to break her heart because it was, she's not going to listen to this, so she won't ever hear this. But
just quite clearly, like, find the Advent calendar you want and just do like the sort of whenever you see them, just eat that chocolate in front of them. So you create the.
Who wants a box of celebrations? No reason at all.
Reese's Pieces, anyone?
Yeah, and for a Malteser.
Comically large bag. Pull out.
Question number five, another Christmas one. What is the best part of a Christmas dinner?
I don't eat Christmas dinner.
Well, sorry, what? I want to get into this. Forget quickfire. This needs to be delved into. What?
My parents don't like roast dinners. I don't have roast dinners usually. Anyway,
What do you have?
I for about 8 years I had a curry.
You like that Soph Corin on Twitter? You know we get on.
No,
like a house on fire.
Sorry. Excuse me. 1 second.
Owning food taste. I should clarify.
I was about to say you've said a lot of things in this podcast. You've said a lot of things, and that is the worst thing that you've said.
You've taken time out of your day to come chat to me, and I've just berated you for Jason Bourne and some interesting characters on Twitter.
First off, we're not talking about Tesco's finest
with buttered toast.
Karma, with buttered toast. Freak. Genuinely freakish.
And
freakish
we endorse that message here on Floodlights Camera Action.
Freakish to eat that at any time of the year, let alone on Christmas. But it used to go to a curry house that we book it out and we'd have like actual like proper chicken tikka.
I don't mind that, I don't mind that.
And it basically meant that mum didn't have to could have a drink, didn't have to do the cook, didn't have to do the hours of cooking and then washing up. But then in recent years, we kind of moved towards more of a Christmas dinner sort of thing, but I don't have turkey, just a fillet steak or a ribeye steak.
You're getting closer.
Roast potatoes, cauliflower cheese, and pigs in blankets.
Sounds quite good, I might try to bring that up.
It's really nice.
Anyone
Brilliant.
for
I'm
fillet
cooking.
steak?
I'm cooking the steak this year. I've got some really nice ribeyes to.
Oh,
I
look
might.
at you go.
If it doesn't rain, fingers crossed, we're gonna stick them on the barbecue outside, even though it's cold. Just why not?
Wow.
Fingers crossed. I've just said if it doesn't rain in Manchester, which
Yeah.
is now basically just condemning me to rain for the next
Yeah.
3
You've
years.
painted an incredible portrait of your family, by the way. It's I'm getting a real visceral image of it.
I'm a
Next
storyteller.
question.
I'm a story guy.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. Got to be a storyteller. Question number 6. What 2025 film are you most excited for?
ooh. This is a interesting one. Uh, I'm looking forward to Mickey 17.
Yeah, if that ever
Definitely.
comes out. Would
If
you
that ever
keep
comes
bumping it
out.
back a year? Yeah.
Also, Across the Spider Verse. Is it Across the Spider Verse or Beyond the
Beyond the
Spider
Spider.
Verse?
That's
It's
never
been
coming out.
delayed.
That film is
So
never
that's
coming out.
because they all have really busy schedules, and Shamik Moore's probably scared how Haley Steinfeld into never doing a press
Josh
tour ever
Allen
again.
has beaten him
Josh
into a
Allen's going
pulp.
to be there Josh Allen's going to be there as a bodyguard the entire time. 2025 movies. Trying to think what's coming out. Like, if you just threw some off, I'd actually try and. I'm literally like,
Nosferatu, A Complete Unknown, Baby Girl, that new Paul Thomas Anderson film, Mickey 17. Really stretching myself here.
yeah.
There's
I thought Nosferatu. I am really looking forward to it, but I thought that was. Is it like Christmas Day or something? So it's technically
I think it's
2024.
Christmas Day in the US. It's Christmas Day, but I think it might be 1st of January
Yeah,
in the UK.
Nosferatu set at Christmas. It's actually coming out in March. No, no, Nosferatu. Then I think it's probably actually. I'm really looking forward to Nosferatu. I think it looks really good.
Good shout, good shout. And last question. This is purely for my own self interest. Pineapple on pizza.
Yeah, grow up.
Oh, that's just mean. That's not. It's nice.
It's only mean. It's only mean if you don't like pineapple on pizza. By the way, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. I'm saying like
Oh,
just have
good.
it.
Oh, yeah.
Just grow up.
Because it provides a sweet balance to the salty and the savory flavors. Why wouldn't you like it?
Like I'm about to say, like it's not like people act like the people who put pineapple on the pizza are the first people to ever do it, and that they've just like gone to their house, got a perfectly normal pizza, and then just basically hacked a pineapple to death in front of them and thrown it on. Like it's like no, you can order it at any restaurant. Like it's a normal thing that people have regularly. Stop acting weird. Like it's not like I've
Yeah.
just like put peas and mayo on it. Like
Yeah, that would be too far. I think the fact that Sophie Concorin would put peas and mayo on her pizza.
someone did. I'm referencing a very very bad Twitter feud that
God.
happened because someone did that and they got absolutely. That was one of the first times I think I saw anyone ever get like completely ganged up on Twitter. Like there was no
Deserved.
defense. There
Deserved.
was no defense. This person just got beaten down. That was like Josh Allen and Shamik Moore. Just constant beatdown. Like honestly, no. But yeah. Grow up. Like it's fine. Like there's
Good.
no issue with it. I like it. So
Yeah. If Casey likes it and I like it, why don't you like it? Casey, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you for giving us so much time. Before we let you go, have a feel free to plug whatever you want to plug, whether that's social media, some
yeah.
good Indian restaurants that do curries on Christmas Day near you, whatever.
Anyway, just honestly, just a local will probably do it on Christmas Day. If you like it, have a local curry house that you really like, just go there. So great. Get some beers, get some curry food, just curry food. Yeah, if you just get some
Yeah, get some curry.
just get your
Waste, I don't know.
usual order. Just get your usual order and a bit more. Like treat yourself
It's
in
Christmas, why
general.
not?
Like yeah, and also like as I said, you can go a bit earlier. You don't have to. No one has to get really annoyed at the cooking. You don't have to worry the turkey's going to be definitely overcooked. Like it's general, just a really nice time. I recommend it. I don't do it anymore because obviously I like steak as well. So, but I recommend it as a thing. I think my girlfriend's doing it with her family. So like generally, like,
Real
it's not.
Real influencer.
Yeah, and to be fair, she did it anyway before she met me. So it's like maybe it's just a normal thing up my end. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter if you still want to listen to my opinions after I said pineapple on pizza is fine. Again, if you don't, grow up.
But you wouldn't want them people following you anyway, would you? If people are like that.
Oh no, please follow me. I'm
Yeah,
all for it.
yeah. Interact,
No,
but do follow.
Yeah. So at Casey_Evans_ on Twitter. You can find me on Letterboxd, as Jack mentioned. I'm writing a lot more on there. As I said, I've got something on Klaus on there right now. So that's Casey Evans. You can also it's pinned on my Twitter, so it's just constant loop. I probably will try and do some more YouTube stuff in the future, but I won't plug that now because it's no point. You're just going to go to a really empty channel. And yeah, I'm just doing stuff on Sportsman from time to time. You'll probably see me talk. I might try and talk about United on my newsletter, but I'm not going to, again, not going to plug that. I haven't wrote on it for a while. Again, if you follow me on Twitter or Blue Sky, again, Casey Evans on Blue Sky, because we're doing Blue Sky now. I have to remember that you do Blue Sky. Yeah, you'll see me link it when I do relink it. And yeah, I think I'm all right at writing lark. So
I agree. I happen to agree.
give it a read. Give it a read.
And that officially takes up to the end of another episode. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to go back and listen to last week's episode, in which we reflected on some of our shambolic early Premier League season predictions. Make sure you follow us on Letterboxd. My handle is jhancock46. Veronica's is Slowed Panda. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. It's at floodlightspod, I think. And if you want to get in touch, email at floodlightpod@gmail.com, because we had someone email us last week about the Hawk Tour girl. We will come back to that next week when Veronica's back. Until then, keep watching.
Hasn't she gone like missing? By the way, like basically like she
we spoke about it ad nauseum last week, and we'll do it again next week. But until then, yeah, you teaser for next week. Keep watching and keep consuming, and adios.